Well, good morning. Happy cold Thursday. It is a very chilly day. I think they just said it was 13 degrees outside. And it's funny, my son Ben texted mom yesterday and asked if he had any jackets here at home. I'm like, you're up in Wisconsin. You went back in January, just a few weeks ago. He could have taken jackets with him. But no, so mom sent him jackets, and I think up there it's below zero. It's a cold time, but that's what January is, right? It's usually a very chilly time. The beauty and joy of December with the preparation for Christmas. And then you hit to January where it's cold and there's sun. I mean, I remember, at least I'm not shoveling snow this week, or at least I haven't since Monday. But yeah, it's a cold day, so stay warm out there. And I wanted to share a devotion with you today, looking forward to our gospel lesson this weekend. Now, if you know me or what I find joy in, it's always trying to troubleshoot things. I like to try to see what the problem is and see how we can fix it, repair it, or improve it. That's just kind of one of my little pet joys, if you would. And yet our gospel lesson for this weekend, Jesus turns water into wine, becomes a lesson of relying upon Jesus, going to him before we think we can handle it ourselves, because we can't always do those things. I'll be honest, every time I try to fix things, sometimes they get better, sometimes they get a whole lot worse, and many times they don't change at all. But you learn, and maybe the thing we need to learn is to trust and depend on Jesus. So I'm going to share with you devotion from Lutheran Hour Ministries, LHM.org is one you should go to. It gives you great devotions, and there's so many other resources that Lutheran Hour provides. And if you watch the Rose Parade each year, they also provide they provide the decorators, as well as have a float in the parade. When I was in high school and even a couple years in college, Rachel and I went down and we decorated Rose Parade floats as volunteers to be able to help support and pay for the LHM float. But Lutheran Hour Ministries, great ministry, has been around for a very long time. Lutheran Hour is a broadcast. It used to be on radio. Now it's online. I'm not trying to do a whole commercial here, but just trying to encourage you, because that's where I get a lot of my devotional thoughts from. And so this one here is for those of you who are like me, who your first adage when something goes wrong is to try to figure out how to fix it or solve it. I want to share with you a devotion that reminds us that we should always first go to Jesus, go to him in prayer, and turn to him. So the text comes from John chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. On the third day, there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus also was invited to the wedding with his disciples. When the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now there were 6 stone jars of water there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." So they took it. When the master of the feast tasted the water now become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and when people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now." This, the first of his signs, Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. Now, just a little understanding here. It was the third day. That can mean a variety of things. Third day of the wedding means that if it was the third day of the wedding, they ran out of wine halfway through the week-long celebration, which would have been a very bad thing for them. To get enough wine to cover this, you're talking probably, in our terms today, maybe even hundreds of bottles in order to provide for all those who were in attendance. So it's a pretty significant issue they're confronted with. But look at the confidence Mary has in her son Jesus. When she discovers that the wine is running out, she goes straight to Jesus and she asks for help. Now, why on the surface, there's no reason for her to do that. Is Jesus a winemaker? Can he go out there and start, grabbing some grapes and stomping on it? Well, then let it ferment and let it age. No, she goes to him, even though he's not a wine merchant. He's not even like a local neighbor who might have a few extra skins of wine in the house. And he's never done this miracle before. So why does Mary go to him? Well, I think it's because Mary knows how dependable he is. From all their years together, she knows that Jesus is the person, the one person you can always rely upon. The kind of person who, if there's an alligator in the toilet, he would absolutely figure out a way to get it out. And so she doesn't waste time in telling him what to do. She just brings the problem to his attention and gets out of the way. And she recommends the servants to take their lead from him. And that's enough. And that's enough for us too, isn't it? If we have a problem, we can take it to Jesus right away. I mean, we don't need to waste time trying to fix it on our own before we ask for help. We don't even need to tell him what we think he should do. We can just say, I need your help. Please, Lord, help me. And he will hear us. And we wait to see what he will do next. That might be something we'd never imagine in our wildest dreams, after all. I mean, look what he did here for the human beings who first turned away from God. The Lord didn't do the obvious thing, talking about Adam and Eve here. He didn't just kill them and then start over. No, he did the unexpected thing. He got himself born into our world as a human being himself. He lived and served among us. Then he suffered and died and was buried, all to break the power of evil over us, all to bring us home to God. When he rose from the dead, he broke the power of death over us forever, and all of us who trust in him will rise from the dead also. On the day when Jesus returns and calls us back to life, we can be absolutely certain that he will do just that, because that's the kind of person he is, completely and absolutely trustworthy. So maybe our prayers, when we encounter a problem, a struggle, anything, need to be first go to Jesus and just simply lay it at his feet. Don't tell him what you think should happen or what you want to have done. Just say, Lord, I trust you. You know what's best. I'm going to follow your lead. Take that example from Mary, that we can depend on Jesus. Follow the way of the servants and just do what he says. Listen, which requires a lot of listening, doesn't it? But it also requires a lot of trust. Just lay it before the Lord. Know that he is our God who loves us, who has done all in the most magnificent way in order to bring us to his own, and who is there always to care for us, provide for us, and to help us out of every problem we have. Doesn't mean we're going to be escaping every single problem, but he will always be there to lead us, to guide us, and to help us through those. So just imagine your prayer was, Lord, please help me. And just let it be. And see, watch, experience what happens. It might be through you, it might be through someone else, it might be in a way that you've never expected. I mean, think about the amount of wine that he made here is like hundreds, like 900 bottles of wine. And if he bottled it, they had wineskins back then, but still, he provided abundantly. Everyone had enough of the best, choicest wine so that it would never run out. There's probably leftovers, kind of like the feeding of the 5,000. If you remember that, Jesus had all of his disciples out there on a hillside. And what's the problem? It's getting late in the day. People are hungry. We got to send them away. And Jesus says, well, you give them something to eat. Suddenly they're confronted with a problem. How in the world? We don't understand how this could be. They're trying to problem solve it. Jesus already was trying to show them they could depend on him. So what did he say? What do you actually have? Small boy's meal. A couple pieces of bread, a couple fish. How can that go among so many? What does Jesus do? He takes it, says a blessing to God and to heaven, and begins to break it and distribute it to where all 5,000, now these are men, not to add to that the women and children, so maybe as many as 9, 10, 12, 13,000 are all gathered there, all eat and are completely satisfied. And then there are 12 baskets collected of leftovers. Think about that, how our God provides abundantly. Yeah, he's someone we can depend on. He's someone we can trust. He's someone that we can know will always do what is necessary. And he's dependable. So that was a devotion I wanted to share with you today. If you're like me and always are apt to want to, problem solve and troubleshoot your own way and how you can do that. Those are not bad things, but our first response, our first reaction is to go to Jesus, go to him in prayer, and simply just lay the problem at his capable hands, and then trust and experience how he works in your life in the lives of this world, and then share that. Share that testimony with others. Let's close our time in prayer. Lord, when I have a problem, as you know when I do, please help me. Help me to rely upon your presence, your guidance, your power, your love. Help me not to get so caught up in the ways that I think they should go or what I would do to fix, but to see your much greater and grander plan and vision for all things. Lord, bless us with that kind of faith, that kind of trust, that kind of assurance. We ask this in your most precious name. Amen. Well, thanks for joining me on this cold morning. I got to say, I'm probably not walking the puppy this morning. Not that it's too cold for me. It is cold, but I don't want to take her out when it's single-digit temperatures. But we'll be doing that next couple of days. Still got to exercise. Still got to get things together. But have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Know that I love you, and aloha.